What is the most stupid and or dangerous thing you have done to avoid normal social contact? Once my mum had friends over with kids my age. I was 14 at the time, and I knew she'd expect me to entertain them. To avoid contact as they came in, I jumped from the second story out my window and only just managed to make it the distance to the trampoline to break my fall. I then read a book I brought with me in the forest for about 4 hours. You win. I work in an occupation that requires a lot of talking. I partake in as much discussion as I need to, but no more. I am generally not a huge talker. I went camping a couple of years ago for a few days just to get away, as you do. All I wanted to do was go for walks, the odd swim, a lot of reading. But most importantly, I did not want to talk to anyone. I made sure that I found a camping spot well away from the main areas to minimize how many people I would encounter. The time of year I picked though was school holidays and basically springtime. So the park I chose was quite heavy with walkers, hikers, campers, etc. I really should have predicted what happened and just picked another more remote park. But anyway, as the first day drew to a close, I settled into my chair to just read. I had an absolute cracker of a book that I was loving every page of and enjoy the twilight. It is usually about this time, however, that other campers choose to be sociable, dotting their way around other campsites and chatting to pretty much everybody. It really is quite lovely that people do this. It restores your faith in humanity a bit. And I will do it myself occasionally, but I was so intent on just keeping to myself. After enduring idle chatter with a few couples and families that strayed my way, I decided I had had enough and that the best thing to do was to give any potential encroachers a glare as they approached. Say nothing, just glare at them. This worked a treat, but worked too well in that I was starting to get some concerning looks from people. I noticed that people in the main camping area were talking among each other and nodding in my direction. Parents were stopping their kids from coming near me, that kind of thing. Rather too late, I realized that I had made myself out to be some kind of weirdo spook keeping to himself in the corner of the campground. Pretend you're deaf next time. If someone tries talking to you, just point to your ears and shake your head. As sad as it makes me to admit, I've resorted to this. Either that, or constantly wear headphones. I went to community college part-time. One of my classes was abnormal psychology, and at the end of the year we had to do a presentation in front of the whole class. It's not an uncommon thing to do, but I got so in my head about it, I just never showed up again for the rest of the semester. You were your presentation. In first grade I really disliked this kid's mom. I think she had some annoying nickname that I didn't like or something, so I tried to avoid talking to her at all costs. One day she was dropping off snacks to the class, so obviously the logical decision in my mind was to hide behind all the backpacks that were hanging on the wall. I formed a plan on the fly. I would pretend to struggle whilst hanging up my backpack. Struggle so much in fact that I would accidentally fall behind the makeshift wall of backpacks and disappear into Narnia or some crap. I have no clue what I was thinking, and emerge from the shadows once the coast was clear. It was foolproof. I made way too much noise in my struggle though, which caused everyone in the room to turn just in time to see me awkwardly fumble around with my backpack and bump my head into the wall. And then to top it off, that stupid mom goes, "Insert stupid nickname. What are you doing?" Cue the entire class giggling as I sulk across the class while nursing my bruised forehead. Started bullshitting my way through my first day on my first job when I was 15 rather than tell someone I was new. Handed out several wrong sizes of ice skates in a row and never clocked, and so I basically sat there at my little corner giving wrong sizes out when I was supposed to be safety monitoring the ice. Whoops. Dang. I've been working my job for 2 years now and I still use the old "sorry, I'm new" excuse to bulls my way through tough customer situations. Halfway through the school year, I noticed I had a library book overdue by one day. I wasn't looking forward to having to admit to the librarian it was overdue, so I waited until the latest possible day to return it. If I had just admitted it was a day overdue, it would have been 10 cents. Instead, it was $10.30. Definitely didn't think the whole thing through. Lucky for us if you return a book before the school year, if over you don't gotta pay. Me and my so are putting off tying the knot because we're terrified of being the center of attention in a huge social convention. My mom forbade me from eloping, so I haven't done that cause a promise is a promise, but man, we really love the idea of eloping. We both just really don't like social interactions. It's a miracle we met. Got off a bus in a bad neighborhood at night and waited an hour for the next one because someone said hi to me and I didn't want to talk. The only reasonable response. Went backpacking solo for 6 weeks when I was depressed and didn't want to be around anyone. Got lost once trying to make a stupid shortcut to a campsite when dusk was coming and luckily figured out where I was in the morning. Almost killed by a turkey when it exploded out of a bush next to the trail when I was on the edge of a steep ravine and I flinched away. The 50-pound pack throwing off my balance so I nearly went over. Ran out of water for more than a day when the recorded springs went dry during a hot spell. Didn't even work as an exercise in isolation though. Met a lot of great people. Dang, that's what I call a journey. Locked myself in the bathroom, sobbing, while my mum sobbed on the other side of the door because I couldn't bear the idea of going down the high streets to buy some milk. It had become too scary to me. I was about 17 at the time. During that same time in my life I was skipping school, and since my mum worked at home, I couldn't hide there, so I would just wander the countryside on my own. The very unruly, unpleasant parts, void of people, to get away from everyone. My anxiety brought me to being trapped on the edge of cliff sides and private property. I just wanted to go away. Guess it's not stupid or dangerous, just sad. I wish you well. Hope things improved. Ate only pizzas, which I ordered online, for over 6 months. I simply didn't have the will or the courage to go to a grocery store or a restaurant. I stayed outside in the winter for multiple hours wearing insufficient clothing just to avoid all the people visiting. I probably got mild hypothermia. Not really dangerous or stupid, but rather sad. I was just a junior in high school. I never did have too many friends. I think somewhere along the way, I must have caught social anxiety since it was really bad back then. Anyways, every time it was lunch, I would take my average walk around school and try looking for a nice spot by myself. After weeks of doing this, I grew impatient and I didn't want to be seen by myself any longer. It was frustrating seeing people smiling and with a friend, while I had nowhere to go. A trip to the bathroom ended up taking 5 minutes, then 15 minutes, then the entire lunch break. From then on, I would stay in the bathroom for a plethora of lunch breaks. It was quiet, not many people used the stalls, and I could eat in peace. I just didn't want to be seen. I stopped doing that towards the end of junior year, and by senior year, I decided to hit up the library every lunch and do my homework. I still didn't have many people I could call friends at the time, so I had to get used to popping in my headphones and doing some work. I realize how much of a P I was, but crap happens, I guess. I'm better now. Did this most of high school. Eventually my Spanish teacher let me stay in her class and have lunch with her. Not uncommon at all. My husband and I visited our new house while it was under construction. It was dusk. The street was deserted, and all the workmen had left for the day. I spotted something cool to salvage in the skip. Not sure if that's the worldwide term. A huge metal thing for all the construction rubbish, garbage, trash. Forget what the object was, but I hopped inside the giant skip to retrieve it to repurpose it for something funky, as I do. As I'm scrounging around in the broken bricks and pipe of cuts in search of more treasure, I hear my husband start talking with a dog walking guy who has wandered up right next to the skip. Crap, I think. Stay down. It'd be embarrassing to pop up out of the skip to meet a new neighbor. As the minutes pass, and the conversation continues, I realize that popping up at the start would have been a much better option than emerging after spending 10 minutes silently hiding in a skip right next to a chatting stranger. As even more time passes with me still crouched in rubbish so as not to be embarrassed, I start obsessing over the possibility that the guy talking to my husband might take a step closer, maybe to chuck something in, and see me hiding. OMG. There is no social comeback for that. Miracle of miracles. He eventually says see you later, and ambles off with his dog. I imagine the look I gave my amused husband when I eventually stood up would defy description. Not dangerous, but as a child, I'd hide in cupboards in my house to avoid people. Also, I'd pee in plastic bags if I really had to use the washroom. Also, I wouldn't come downstairs to visit people, and I'd have like crackers in my room or some crap. I was a shadow gremlin. OMG, as an adult I've always wondered if I could fit into a cupboard. Being an adult, I also generally have a healthy supply of food cleaning supplies, which makes it rather difficult to find an empty cupboard. Told my GF I couldn't hang out cause I was blackout drunk. She called balls and said I needed to be over now, so I did what any sane person would do. I went and bought some Bacardi 151. I didn't really drink a whole lot of it, it was so long ago, but I remember waking up with puke on my walls, in my bed, and a crying girlfriend begging to be let into my room. So I guess it didn't work. I had issues in my early 20s. Being uncomfortable in front of my brother's friends as I drove him to meet up with his friends. I immediately tore out of there, went to turn left onto the road and didn't see the middle divider. I'm a gynecologist. After patients are done in the exam room, they walk out right past my podium where I chart. I usually say something nice to bring closure to our visit, like I'll call you with your lab results. But there are some patients that I just don't want to see again after I leave their room because I know they are going to corner me and ask a million more questions in the hallway. So I hide in the sample closet till they walk away. I haven't gotten much sleep because I like to get to work an hour before anyone else shows up. The hour of peace is worth it. I do this too and I completely agree. The peace is so wonderful. I was leaving my job and moving across the country. I got along really well with my bosses and co-workers, and they wanted to give me a really big goodbye party at a swanky restaurant with presents and a big cake and speeches and me in the spotlight. The more I thought about it, the more it scared the living crap of me. So obviously, I didn't go. It was the only obvious choice, right? The next day, wow, all bridges burned to a crisp. If you had told them you were nervous, maybe they would have goaded you into still going. When I was in college I had really bad social anxiety. There was this kid, let's call him Johnny, that I could tell was attracted to me. He would sit next to me in class no matter where I sat, but he wouldn't talk to me. I wasn't attracted to him, and I was too uncomfortable to handle this like a normal person, so I would just never look in his direction like a witch. Suddenly, he finally talked to me the last class before spring break. He direct quoted word for word something I'd said in class months ago that he said really struck a chord with him, I guess. It creeped me out and confidently demanded my phone number. So, give me your number so we can talk over break. Not a question. I was generally uncomfortable talking with people at the time, but had no idea how to navigate that situation since it was so unexpected. I didn't think he'd ever talk to me, let alone come in so hot. Fight or flight kicked in, and I literally ran out of the classroom and didn't stop for 3 blocks, and only because I hit a don't walk signal, without ever even speaking to him. Not dangerous, but so stupid. I did go home to my roommates and they helped me stalk all my classmates on Facebook from the class email. He never introduced himself, and I did reach out to apologize. I didn't want him to stew on that all spring break. Update. Through lots of therapy, I can now handle similar situations with grace. Oh my gosh, I am still like this as a 27-year-old woman. Well, I don't run away, at least lol. But no clue how to politely decline like a normal human being. I have a library book from my first 9 years ago, I think. I've moved twice since and I still have it. I never even finished it. When I was a teenager, I was getting my hair cut and I just dreaded small talk. When the stylist was cutting my hair, she asked me if I have any siblings. I said no, hoping the conversation would just trail off. I have 2 siblings. My mom and sister were off shopping and I never anticipated they'd come back. My sister did. Sister, mom's waiting in the car. 3 minutes later, stylist. So was that your cousin? Me. Yes. I was very shy as a child. So shy that when an uncle I've never seen before walked into the room, I somehow managed to stuff myself in a cabinet under a TV. Then I closed the door. This backfired because instead of people not seeing me, all the attention was directed towards me as people were like, what the frick is he doing? My old neighbors would always be outside trying to talk to me when I brought my dog outside. I would let him out the back during the day and stay up super late to be able to let him out and take him on walks around the neighborhood at like 2 AM when they are finally asleep, because they won't stop talking to me, ever. They finally just moved. It's nice now I can let him out daily and he can even poop in their yard. Hell. I didn't go to school for the last semester of my senior year of high school because my social anxiety and depression were just so bad. Still passed with all A's because I would get the work from my friends and email it to my teachers. Eventually they even let me take the tests online. Graduation was kind of awkward though. Massively activated my lactose intolerance by ordering nothing but pizzas for several months to avoid going down the stairs and encountering the girlfriend of my girlfriend's dad. We rented the upper part of an old duplex from him and she was always downstairs right in the living room. Always drunk and always angry. Oh geez. I'm sorry you had to go through that on both fronts. There is a guy that I work with that has to talk to freaking everybody. He's really annoying and overly and strangely friendly. Anyways, one time I went into the break room to avoid him and I'm standing there like an absolute idiot looking at the wall reading a safety manual sheet. He walks in and punches out and he says to me, "Is she giving you head down there?" Huh. There was a poster of one of the employees staring right at my crotch. There were other people in the break room when he said it but no one heard. Thank goodness. Guy's a weirdo, I'm telling ya. Says the guy's reading a safety manual sheet. You weirdo. You only read those things when you're taking a crap and forgot your phone. There is a sort of donut of rooms in my house, with the whole being a big squarish wall with cabinets in it and the donut itself being a bunch of rooms. When a realtor came over, I would walk around the donut perfectly in time so that she never saw me. I have definitely snuck right out the back door in order to walk over 3 miles on the side of the road, down railroad tracks, and through woods to get home. Multiple times, actually. It's easier than asking for a ride home, even from friends. Bonus points for actually walking into the woods as cars pass. Really creeped out one of my regular customers though. He saw me come out of the bushes and tried to joke about it, but I couldn't even answer. I just went back into the woods. I don't think he came into work after that, now that I think about it. I got invited to hang at a bar with 2 friends of mine. I was planning on biking to the city with one of them, and I was already at his house, but as he was going to get his jacket, I got cold feet and rode as fast as I can back home, so he couldn't see me leaving. Minor, but I drove all the way to the gym, saw an older couple that I haven't talked to in 10 years entering the gym, so I turned around and went home. I don't need to play catch up while lifting. This isn't the stupidest or most dangerous, but I often go running alone at night. I do not live in the safest area for that, and sometimes I even go through the woods. I get anxious running around where there are a lot of people, and I'm mildly agoraphobic. Wide, open fields or neighborhoods freak me out. I have encountered a few creeps in the past this way or have been in some uncomfortable situations, and although they've been few and far between, you'd think I'd learn my lesson. Hopefully you bring along some pepper spray or a whistle or something. Once I didn't leave my room for 3 days because I didn't want to face my roommates and their fancy cooking skills. I ate saltines the whole time. Grocery shopping at 2-3 AM. Even if the pharmacies supermarkets are really close to where I live, at that time just about anything can happen. In college I had a major crush on my current, so we always danced together when we saw each other out on campus, but had never really had a sober conversation. So one day in the cafeteria, I spotted him standing right in the clear path where I was walking to drop my food tray. I turned and awkwardly weaved through all the tables rather than walking the clear path to avoid crossing paths and having to talk to him. Not a direct answer but still relevant. So my town has their annual 4th of July firework display the night before, so that would be this past night. I'm a junior in college, and don't really get out much, but I'm still in a group chat with my high school friends who started making plans to go. I said I would join, but told a close friend who was also in the chat that my anxiety was pretty severe, and I don't know for sure if I'd be there. She said she understood, and I thought that was the end of it. Everyone else thought I'd be going. Well, I have recently moved, and realized as the sun went down that the firework display took place about 50 feet from my new house. Not only was the area close by, but my friends had all apparently parked across from my house to attend. Also, the friend that I had talked to was also not present. While the fireworks show was happening, I was playing Xbox in my room to distress with the shades on the window pulled up so I could at least see the show from my bed. But when the show ended, I continued playing. About 20 minutes later I look out my window and see everyone from the group chat standing in my driveway, looking up at me playing Xbox in my room after ditching them. They all just stood and looked at me angrily for a bit before getting in their cars and driving off without saying a word. TLDR, I was feeling too anxious to go out with my friends, so I stayed home from an event that took place next to my house only to end up seeming like an butt for ditching my friends to play Halo. When I was a kid I had huge social anxiety, so freaking bad, that I cried and hid in the parking lot during an ice cream social just because I didn't want to talk to the boys who were my age. Joke's on them now cause I masturbate in women's clothing and shove weird things up my butt. BRRRRRRRR. I wait in line at the ease pass only lane even though the wide open cash lane also takes ease pass just to avoid making eye contact with the person in the toll booth. I spent 2 years of my life depressed living on a couch playing Dota. Humans sucked and I couldn't handle the thought of seeing people that would think I was a failure, including family. I was out for a walk in a post-panic attack days, my anxiety through the roof, when I saw an older couple approaching down the path from the opposite direction. I freaked out, knowing they would say good morning to me and that I couldn't deal with that, so I hid up a tree until they had passed. I'm not entirely sure exactly how I got up the tree. In my mind I scuttled up quickly, but in reality the couple probably witnessed the slowest and most awkward of escape attempts. My mum had friends over I didn't like that I wanted to avoid, me. So in my infinite wisdom I hid under the living room coffee table, the room they were all in, for like 2 hours. I went on a solo trip to Croatia without planning it out and blew most of my money on a rental car I didn't know I was gonna need. Spent the drive to my Airbnb trying to avoid toll booths since I had hit my card limit and accidentally ended up on some backcountry road. A 2-hour drive turned into a 5-hour drive. My phone died. I pulled over at one point and a wolf came out of the forest and circled my car. I finally found a cafe, charged my phone, and made it to my Airbnb at around 1:30. Best trip of my life. Was going to spend the night at a friend's house but got tired of talking to people and didn't want to talk to an Uber to take me home so I walked 6 miles, most of it on the shoulder of the highway, home at midnight. Not dangerous but stupid. My social anxiety is mostly linked with fear of people who have some kind of authority above me. Thus once my landlord tried to visit, she rang. I absolutely freaking froze. Once I was sure she was gone, I moved to my bed and on my computer and didn't make the slightest movement for hours. Also listened to computer with earphones to make sure they would not hear me, but not too high sound, so I would hear them eye they came. What I'm doing right now. I have weird social anxiety issues. Haven't seen interacted with more than 4 humans in the past 48 hours or so. Came out to the bar expecting a usual slow Tuesday. Forgot there's a holiday tomorrow so tons of people are out. Anxiety kicked into high gear with all the noise and commotion. I just wanna leave, but that means either saying goodbye to the 15 or so people I know here, or the good ol' Irish goodbye, but that comes with the what the frick aftermath because I never do that. So I'm still here drinking more, while becoming more uncomfortable. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.